Hi, we're going to talk through another example of how to draw a head with the Loomis method. And in this one here, you can see that I start with a circle, once again, to represent the mass of the head around this side. Like if you put them, your hands on the side of the head like that. Then we do a brow line here. And then we do a line here for the ear. And you can see from the hair to about the bottom nose of the ear is another circular shape that we lop off the side of the ball. And then take it down a center line. And on the center of the head, I move from the side of the circle around to around where the hairline is, around here. And then from the bottom of your around here, we get the next proportion. And you can see the head is broken up into equal thirds. Top of the head, under the nose, to the bottom of the chin. Then we bring this line down here and extend it out to the jawline. Now for the cheek, part of the head is lopped off, so it's in a little bit, and we bring it just a straight line down to the jaw. And we don't worry about how the head goes in and out and in and out in here. We're just trying to get a nice flow to it. And later we'll build on those extra bumps and things, but first we're getting that underlying form. And you want to make sure this one's a little tricky because it's on an angle, but all the perspective lines are going in the same direction. So from there, I just put a basic shape on for the ear. Again, nothing too detailed or intense yet, just kind of a placeholder for everything. And here I'm putting in the side of the head where the line is here, and then there's another ridge kind of where your eyebrows bend here, so I'm just laying that in. And then from there you can kind of start building this plane of the head where it comes back. Do a line here and it kind of comes back down to here to the orbitals underneath. And then it's a little tricky shape because they don't go back like a box, they splay outwards, so you can see it's more like this you're drawing. And then from there, kind of laying in the keystone shape of the eye, the bridge of the nose area here, and then also blocking in where the eyes are. And there's a space between the eyes of another eye. So the eyes are very, very important, and I try to give them the attention they deserve and take my time with them and be very direct and clear to where they are, so it doesn't trip me up later. Because there's been many times I've done a drawing and the eyes just ruin it. The eyes are off. So I just try to kind of lay that in right away. And then you see we did a basic shape for the nose, a very boxy shape. I just kind of try to describe the underneath of the nose of where it curves here, and then just bring that down to that line below the ear. And I have the jaw in, and the mouth isn't directly in the middle, it's a little up from the middle, and then I put in the line under the lip. And then after that, blocked in the neck, and just started blocking in the clothes also in that big shape that the head attaches into. And now the eyes are down here, so I'm just getting in that idea of the eyelids. You're looking above them, so it's like a curved out shape. And getting in that in there. And I'm clearing up that line we talked about earlier where the boxy form here under the brow kind of goes outwards a little. I added in the cheek. Since we knew the flow shape underneath, now we can add in that little bump. And here, getting where the eyebrows start, getting that correct, and then just kind of laying that in there. Now all these are just rough placeholders. I try not to be too precise because that will take the fun out of the drawing for me. I just want to keep moving and keep putting things down and trusting my gut and hoping over time my eye will improve more and more and more, instead of measuring everything and being so methodically precise about it. I don't enjoy that. I just like to be rough and loose and then just keep correcting, much like in life. You go for it and you don't fail. It's just feedback where, oh, it should be here, it should be there. You don't take it personally. You just keep on moving and keep on improving. So now I put in the nodes of the mouth here. It's a shape that moves your mouth all around and makes your lips do all that kind of stuff, but it's a good landmark to tie the mouth into. Back working on the eyelids. They're a tricky one, but again, it's just the concept of it, like, oh, they will be like this. The head is a circle for the Loomis, but as you turn, you can see that it's elongated in this way a little bit, so you always got to add on a little mass in the back, and I'm prepared for that. You know, everybody's proportions are different too. It's just a way to draw and then reference the model, and you keep doing that, and then you can start seeing the landmarks in the model. And it's as you do one, they start working together more and more and more. So here I'm starting to block in the lips and just trying to work with straight lines or arcs. If you start going in the details, trying to get the little things and all that, it can throw you off. So it's just getting those big shapes, big to little. So you get the broad strokes, roughly where they should be, and then as you start getting all the pieces in there, you'll start seeing what's off and what isn't. And here I'm feeling out the chin. You can feel the chin is a little pointed downwards, a little smaller. So I was just getting that shape in, and then looking at where the clothing is coming off in regards to that. I can see it's coming off the tip of the chin, it's coming off around where the lips are. And again, just laying those in to help describe the volumes and everything around it. Because you don't want to leave that stuff wrong. You just don't want to rush through and just draw these shapes that don't make sense. You want to treat everything the same. You're describing forms roughly at this point with straight or curved lines. You're not adding any detail, and you don't owe it to the wrinkles in the shirt or anything to be perfect. You're just trying to tell a story that this exists here, it turns this way, it's going that way. Nobody will know. You know, yes, you can see the reference, but when people look, they won't be seeing your reference image at the final piece of art. So you don't have to stay true to all that. You can interpret it, move things where they work better, or tell a better story, or just look more appealing. And now we're back into the face. I threw that line on the lip just to start showing a surface line, to show where the form curves, and start showing volume, and start bringing out the 3D-ness of the form. Here I'm indicating the hair, and again, not being super literal to what we see, but just saying, yeah, it's a little, the texture of this form is a little bumpy. It's not straight and smooth. So now we're going in, I'm refining that shape here again, clearing up the cheek, how it flows in, and just tying down these forms a little bit more. Again, the nose, getting the bump of that nose in, and I know I go back later here and try to fix the nostrils and things because they're not exact, but it's all right. This isn't about being perfect or exact. It's about having fun, understanding what you're looking at, seeing the world in a new way, that it's just not a face. It's these forms that flow into each other and have volume and wrap around, and that's the fun part of it all, of describing the world through line variation and also values. So I thickened up the lips a little. I could see they should be over, and that's as you're starting to get these features in, you can see more and more where things should be or shouldn't be. And it's all right. It's not about being perfect right off the get-go. It's just about being focused and exploring and doing something you love and getting better at something you enjoy doing. And you're building that artistic vision of seeing the world in new and exciting ways, seeing more details than other people notice. I notice when I'm talking to somebody, I'll just be reading their face and my eyes are bouncing around and seeing like what makes them unique, and oh, I'll just keep discovering, like, oh, look at the face does this here or does that. And I mean, I'm paying attention to them, but it's just another level of focus you're bringing to studying their face and exploring the world in a whole deeper level. Again, back to the eyes here. I drew a little surface line over the eye, showing how it wraps over. So I try to make sure every line tells a story and has a point. It's something I've struggled with a lot, of hoping that if I just move my hand around, that I would get lucky and good things would come out and people would think I was a great artist and it was effortless. But now, after years of doing it, it's more fun to be present and focused and deliberate with everything. So you see, I delineated on the lip there where the highlight ends, and you're starting to get midtones. And now I'm starting the shadow map, which is another way of just saying where the light and the form are turning, because they're the same thing. You know, the light is hitting in a certain way, and then as it turns away, it turns into midtones. So I'm just delineating between highlights and midtones here, but also describing the form with a nice soft line. And at this point, you can see the drawing come alive more and the life of it start to come into it. And you do this with maybe the side of your pencil, and you just lightly, I've heard somebody say once, you tickle the paper. But yeah, you got to really just be dragging it and pulling that line out. And here I'm clearing up the sideburn there. I could see, oh, now that I put in this shadow form, I could see that this wasn't in the right place. So I clear away that line that's telling the wrong story, and I try to put one in that tells a better story now. And that's, for me, what drawing is. It is passes. Yeah, and that's what the Loomis method gives you. You put down this big cranium shape, you put down the chin, and where the nose will be, and you just keep taking these passes of refining instead of trying to just nail it perfectly and be a photocopy machine. It's more fun to understand how these forms interlock and play with each other, and then you can take that, after you understand that, into the land of exaggeration and stylization and creating your own characters, or even being like a caricature of the person, to where you notice that maybe their nose is small or their chin is big, and you push those things to capture their personality even more, and make it maybe not 100% be a photocopy of them, but you're capturing the essence of them more. And you can only do that by understanding the forms and where their face the variations of their face from the norm of the Loomis method, and just how people, if you took a average of everybody, how they would look. So here we are now, just getting that nose more locked in. I can see that mine is turned down too much, so I'm adjusting the nostril now, and I can see how close that nostril is to the cheek. And again, I'm removing the lines that aren't telling the story I want to tell, and just clarifying the story I do want to tell. That the nose, it comes up from the underneath, it flows into that nostril, the nostril comes back down under it, and then I always bounce left to right. So now I go from that nostril, and I want to make sure it's equal on the other side. So now I brought that curve over, and then I'll bring that underneath. I added in a little shadow there, but I could tell that wasn't the right move. I didn't want to have any big blocky shadows in there yet. It still feels light and alive to me, and putting that shadow in just felt wrong. Now I'm just adding in a little drop shadows and rounding the clothing down there. Try to give it kind of the same feel. You can see me clearing up what's in front and what's behind there. So the shirt is in front of the collar of that jacket, and I just wanted that to be clear. There's definitely heavy shadows all in the clothing. So also using the shadow mapping to describe the form of that shirt there, and you can see that he has a light coming from the left and from the right. So it's a good opportunity, like we see on the neck. You know, there is a core shadow here, and then a shadow over here that really starts to describe the form. And he has a top lighting on the head, and you can see it's leaving that shadow on the forehead, which gives us another opportunity to easily show where the top of the brow ridge is there, and where the forehead starts to bend. And I'm going back in, I'm showing the hair, again keeping it simple, but just saying, I'm not following it exactly, I'm just saying, oh, this line isn't just a smooth line, it goes up and down, and it's just describing the texture of things. So now I'm going back in, you see me clear up that line around the bridge, and I can start removing old lay-in lines or construction lines that I don't need to truly tell the story as the drawing develops. So we can use them as a scaffolding to build the drawing, but as you build the building, much like you see people build buildings, you don't need the scaffolding after a while, and then the actual facade starts to get finished. So it's the same thing with this drawing, that you'll see me go through, and the lines I use to start everything, I can start lightening or taking away. So now we're going back to the shadow mapping, and it can be difficult, but it can be very helpful to delineate where does the form turn, what am I seeing here, and that's a huge part of it, of understanding what you're drawing and what you're looking at, and how do I tell this same story. And here you can see me right now in the ear. I'm clearing up that area where the line was no longer needed, and I needed to show the ear goes over this. And now I'm doing some basic shadow mapping in the ear, and the ear is very complex. There's many folds, there's lots of bumps and things going on in there, and you don't have to be like, that's called the helix, I believe, in there. You don't have to know all that, but you can understand the forms, and it's almost like looking at the ear is like a whole nother face. There's so much going on in there. But once you get confident with that, of just describing forms with different line variations, the face starts to get easier and easier, because you are just doing the same thing over and over. You're saying, oh, this is what a rounded form looks like, this is what a sharper turn looks like, this is like what the silhouette looks like, and things like that. And then you find that everything is just a silhouette with some internal lines, and you have form. You see I went back there, and just like I was saying, how the head is not a perfect circle, it's elongated, I just added some more on into the back, and that's all right. You have to do those types of things. So going back into the lips now, and just like the bottom lip, I'm trying to show where the form turns. And it's tricky, there's a lot of values going on in there. And maybe I'm getting it right, maybe I'm not, but I'm looking and trying to decipher it. And to me, this is like a video game to me, where it's a challenge, and you might not get it right away, but it's fun trying to figure it out. And it's fun seeing your progress and trying to beat that level or that boss. And you always have another level in drawing to work at and grow. I'm putting a darker line in under the chin here, and it's a little technique. Everything that's under in shadow, you can add a darker line, and the form will read to your mind better. It's just a way to say, oh, this is the underneath of something. This is not receiving a lot of light. You can use that in cartoons too. You just do a heavier line everywhere gravity's pulling, or shadow, or the light couldn't get to. Under your nose, under here, all those types of places. And you can see I just refined the forehead and brought it in, like I was saying. When you chop off that side of the ball, it brings the forehead in a little. And I could see just a little sliver of the hair, and then not over describing, but just again showing the hair texture. I'm showing with wavy lines. And now I'm trying to do almost a shadow mapping type thing on the side of the head, but it's more of a wrapping line. And it's something you can do. You can do wrapping lines to describe the forms of things, where you draw over them. So the hair, I was just like, oh, the hair goes like this, just so you can understand a little more, or the viewer can understand. And I'm going back in and I'm cleaning up those construction lines more and more to make sure that it reads clearly and you don't get confused of what's underneath and what's on top. Same thing with the clothing here. I could see that shirt is supposed to be coming over the collar, coming towards us in 3D perspective. So I tried to make that more clear. And I'm going now just a little bit darker lines and shadows in places. So back into the nose area, and I just want to fill it up and just be more clear of what's happening. And it works because we have that softer line already where the shadow would be, but then you come with that slightly darker line and it pushes things back a little bit more, which really helps. And here, this was something I was worried about, these eyes, and so going back in and just really trying to describe that form and make it clear of what's happening. Now here there was a highlight on that corner of the eye there, and it was difficult to get, but I wanted to clean it up and make sure it was clear. So you can see me going back in with the eraser and making sure that shape was well defined. And again, this isn't about being perfect to the reference. It's just about learning to turn shapes in space and describe form. You're not here to be a photocopier or a camera or anything like that. You're just here to view the world through an artistic lens and learn how to tell a story with just simple lines. All this is basically 2 to 3 line weights. You know, we have the thin lines, and then we have more of the side pencil lines where we show that the form is turning over with that heavier line, or maybe a diffuse shadow is being cast. So back up in the head, making sure that feels clear of how that form is. And it to me, one of the reasons I love drawing is describing forms and putting 3D, the illusion of 3D on paper, and capturing the world for a moment on a flat piece of paper, our 3D world, and using my brain to interpret those shapes, because it was a big moment for me from going from just 2D shapes to how to turn things in 3D. And I get a lot of joy out of that. So yeah, continuing to go in now and clean up those construction lines. You can see just knocking them back. I'm not worried about totally removing them, but just so it doesn't fight the illusion as much. And I think this is a good lay-in where it's at right now. I think it shows all the information I want to show, and from here we can take it further and keep refining, but just keep doing these of doing the sphere, the thirds. You block in the nose where the mouth would be, the shape for the ear, the neck, and roughly block in where the light is. And the more you do that, the more all your art will seem to improve. And just have fun with it. Don't worry about being perfect. Mine's not perfect, but I enjoy doing it. And you just stay true to your heart and what you're passionate about, and just keep having fun. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.